Hey everybody, Aaron Blaise here, and welcome to another live stream on YouTube. I've got my green tea because it's good for your heart, and so I'm drinking that today. And first of all, I just want to let you know, next week I will not be doing any live streams at all. I won't be doing any on YouTube or Facebook. I need to take a week off in order to get my the How to Draw Bears course done, and doing the streams kind of inhibits me from doing that. So I just want to kind of plow through the week. So we're going to take a little break and then we'll be back the following week. Also, I want to let you know, first of all, let me tell you what I'm going to be doing today. I'm going to be doing a grizzly run. I'm going through the whole mechanics of it. So we're going to animate it, we're going to talk about it, and I'm going to explain it because this is one of the things I'm trying to get done for my How to Draw Bears course. And I figured, well, why don't I just invite everybody in and sit over my shoulder. You guys can look over my shoulder and I can explain what I'm thinking about as I'm animating this big, massive animal running. And so we'll talk about that. As usual, I've got my son Dustin Blaise. He's in the sitting here, and he's going to be able to answer questions today. Say hi, Dustin.
Hey guys.
And Nick is going to be there. He's in Sarasota. He's running a little bit late. He'll be there in about 15 minutes. So he'll be able to answer questions on the keyboard on his end as well. And the other thing I want to let you know is today we are running, because we're doing animation, we thought we would run a little sale on the website. So all of my animation lessons, courses, entire courses, all that stuff, they're all 25% off. So check that out. It's at, my website is creatureartteacher.com. It's creatureartteacher.com, and it's 25% off all of my animation lessons. So like I said, so today, why don't we go ahead and dive in after I take another sip of my green tea, because it's good for your heart. I'm trying to get healthy again. I'm becoming an old animator, which means I'm all hunched over and I'm turning into a pear. So I'm trying to get rid of the pear shape, trying to get my heart a little bit more healthy. One of the things you got to do when you're pushing 50. So anyway, I love animal mechanics. That's one of the, as you guys know, I've grown up drawing animals, painting animals. I was an animal artist before I was an animator, and so I kind of brought all of that knowledge into the world of animation when I became an animator. And once I learned how to animate, then my love of animals and drawing animals and all that kind of exploded, because now I could move them around, and I could basically think of an animal and bring it to life by moving it. And that's one of the reasons I love just doing animals running. I mean, it's kind of mundane. I know it's not acting and all that, but there's something that's kind of fun when you get the physics right and you get the weight right, and you get, and it's specific to an animal like we're going to do today with this grizzly bear. When you get it right, then there's just something that feels really cool about it. So we're going to do that. Let me bring this up. This is a drawing that I started out doing this morning, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna get rid of this drawing, and we're just gonna start from scratch. That way you guys can just see what I go through the struggle. I still struggle at it. So I have to work it when I'm just getting the initial drawings down. I really work them quite a bit until I get the ones that I like, and then we can start filling in the gaps in the animation. The software that I'm using today is TV Paint. It's TV Paint Animation 11 Pro. One second. Hey, Dustin.
Yeah?
We forgot to turn the lights on again. Can you turn the lights on, please?
Of course.
Not that it's, I guess, I don't look too bad on there, but we'll just turn the lights on and get everything a little more even. So it's on TV. The software I'm using is TV Paint. I know some of you will ask, have I ever tried Toon Boom and Harmony and all that kind of stuff? I have. I like TV Paint personally. I like the way it feels. I like, here's a drawing that you can see that, it looks like I sat down with my pencil and drew it, and I love their brushes. It's all bitmap, so I like the quality of the brushes, the quality of the drawing. For me, it feels the closest to drawing on paper, but in a digital world. So I like that a lot. The hardware that I'm using, that I'm drawing on, just so you guys know, is a Wacom Cintiq 27 HDQ, I think, or QHD, I think. It's the biggest one that they make. They are, yes, they can be kind of expensive, and a lot of people come back and say, I'm drawing every single day. It's like your bed. You know, you go to bed every single night. You want a really good bed, right? I mean, we all sleep 8 hours, at least we try 8 hours a night. And so the point I'm trying to make is, if you can get the best equipment for what you do, then do it, because it makes your life that much better. So for me, this is the equipment. You know, people ask me what I use, and this is what I use, and everybody else comes back and says, well, have you tried so and so? It's like, well, no, this is what I use. So if you're interested, I use a Wacom, W-A-C-O-M Cintiq, and it's a 27 QHD. I think it's QHD. Which means it's a 27-inch screen. So it's a nice big screen. When I'm actually drawing with the image, you know, up this size, this is the size of my paper on my animation disc, you know, if I was sitting at a desk. So that's pretty cool. But so let's just go ahead and dive in, because I can sit here and yak and yak and yak, and we won't get any drawing done. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of this drawing, and we're going to start from scratch. So I'm thinking about a bear run. Now, bears, you know, grizzly bears, you know, and I think a lot of people understand this. Grizzly bears are fast, or any bears are fast. They, you know, they're not, just because they're big and muscular and lumbering and heavy, doesn't mean that they're not quick. They're strong, and they can move up to 30 to 35 miles an hour, and you know, at a quick burst. And so I'm not going to draw a bear running that hard. I'm going to draw, you know, I've seen hundreds and hundreds of grizzlies in my life, in Alaska, up in Wyoming, Montana, mostly in Alaska. And a few times I've seen them run, and I've never seen them in a full out hard gallop where they're chasing down prey. I've never seen that in real life, but I have seen them just kind of galloping along. And that's kind of what I'm going to do today, because their weight, they've got so much weight, so much bulk to them, that there's a certain way, then when they're running comfortably, they're kind of stiff-legged, that kind of pushes their weight, you know, keeps it moving along. It's a little different than let's say a cheetah, that's a lot more light on its feet and slender and very wiry and fluid. A bear isn't that way. There's a lot of up and down. There's a lot of extra movement that we're going to get in here. But just like I would a cat or a dog or anything else, I want to find my extreme poses. So that's what I'm going to start with now. And the first pose, when I'm doing a run, the first one that I like to start with is that outstretched pose, where the back feet have just pushed off and the front feet are reaching out for that next stride. That's the first extreme I always like to go for. And thinking about that, when you, let's just jump back real quick. I want to go back to, here's a bear walk. And I think I played this for you guys before, but if I didn't, actually, let me stop this. This is the walk that I did the other day, and this is all completely filled out. This is on ones. And one of the things, if you notice, as he's walking, the head is reacting to the front legs. So as the front legs drop, the head drops. So he's got this kind of lumbering kind of feel. Now that reverses when you get into a run. When that bear is running, he's driving with his head. He's throwing his, you know, you get like a wave of momentum that goes through the body that starts with the head. That head drives forward, followed by the feet, followed by the hips that come up, and they come down, and then the back feet hit the ground. And so you get this wave of action, and that head is that first thing that starts that bit of momentum, rather than like this in this walk, where you see the head reacting to what the rest of the body is doing. In the run, the head is driving what the rest of the body will be doing. Okay, so that's the first thing to think about. So let me come back to our grizzly run. So with that in mind, if he's stretched out, this is, you know, this is the logic that goes through my head. So if he's stretched out and he's looking for that next stride, that means the head has already come down. The head is already driving forward. It's already done that. So I'm going to start by bringing that head kind of down. right here. Now, like I said, I'm not going to do a super heavy, hard run. You know, and grizzly bears, they have a bit of a forehead, unlike a polar bear, which is pretty straight. I'm going to open his mouth, I think, a little bit. I'm going to open his mouth just a touch. A touch. Okay, so there's our head, really roughed in. We'll come in and we'll tie it all down in just a minute. All right, so there's, you know, you've always got that hump. Grizzly bears, especially, a very distinctive hump. That's where all the trapezius and the latissimus muscles kind of tie into the back. Very big, strong shoulder muscles. Now, the thing about a grizzly bear, because of its bulk, because of the size of its muscles, if you look at a cheetah, when they run and they get that really long stretch, and the cheetah in my mind is the extreme opposite of what the bear is, they really get a long stretch in those arms. They really reach out there. Grizzly bear, not so much. They can't stretch that much. And I'm going to move this up a little bit, and I'm going to shrink it just a little, because I can tell already I'm drawing too big. So let's put that up in the air right there. Beautiful, baby. So here, I'm thinking about that shoulder blade underneath the skin, coming into the shoulder right here, and we're going to get lots of stretch right there. But this is about as far, right here. And there's the triceps coming down to the elbow. That's about as far right there as we're going to get with any kind of stretch on the arms. Right about in there. And he's going to be somewhat horizontal. And those hips, because he's just pushed off, those hips, notice the path I'm trying to get. I want to get this kind of path through the body. Those hips are going to be down here. There's a crest on the hip on the pelvis, right there. And I'm thinking about all of this. You know, this is going to be bunched up muscle and stuff up in here, because those arms are, you know, they're reaching forward, and it's going to bunch up some of that neck muscle. Just like so. We're getting just like that. Actually, that head might be a little bit small. Yeah, Dustin?
What is the difference between extremes and breakdowns?
An extreme really describes, it's the most extreme drawing in a pose. There's only a couple of drawings that will describe an action, let's say. But then that action is described by more drawings between those extremes. I don't know if I'm explaining it right, but the extremes, there's usually two drawings that really describe an action that are the extremes. And then there might be one or two or three breakdowns that will specify the action. Let's say I have a character doing an arc rather than going straight. Well, that breakdown would be a character up here, so that it describes that it's an arc rather than something going straight across. And then if I want to make sure that it's a smooth arc, then you've got these secondary breakdowns that'll describe a smoother arc. And so breakdowns are really the secondary drawings behind, there we go, behind the keys, the extremes. Extremes and keys are the same thing. Okay, so here I want to get these feet kind of pointing forward, but they should actually be turned in just a little bit. And you're going to get nice stretch in that skin that comes down to the knee. And the thing about grizzly bears, especially the ones that are running like we're doing here, you don't get a whole lot of, like the back legs, that's about as far back as they're going to go. And I'll get that foot. They have feet sort of like us. We'll do something like that. And I'm just going to go very loose. So I'm going to think about the thigh muscle. Yes, Dustin?
How long does it take to make an animation by yourself, like an animation project?
That's a very broad question. If I'm doing something by myself, it depends. Are you saying am I doing a shot? Am I doing an entire animated short? Like right now, I'm working
an entire short by yourself.
Well, I'm working on a short called Snow Bear, and if I were to be working on it constantly, which I'm not able to do, but if I were to be working on it constantly, and I'm looking for it to be about an 8-minute short, it would take me probably about a year. And that's, getting it, start to finish. And that's me having been doing this for quite a while. I want to bring that head out. Even though I have the shoulders coming up, I want to bring that head out just a little bit, clear it out. It feels like the neck was just a little too short. There we go. And then what I'd like to do is I want to bunch up some of this. As his head is being thrown down, a lot of this fur is going to be coming, including his cheeks and everything are going to be being pushed up in the air. And then all that's going to drag. It's going to drag down. Get that eye in there. We've got the brow ridge in here coming into the cheekbones. The cheekbones cut back underneath like so. And you've got a hollow in here. I'm going to open up that mouth a bit. Let's get that mouth open. There we go. Just a bit. See where I kind of come in and tie things down a little bit. Did you have something, Dustin? I wasn't sure. I didn't.
Well, I do have a few questions that did pop up.
Sure.
What is the best way to animate hair, like flowing hair and that kind of stuff?
For me, I think when I'm animating hair, I try to think about the primary action first. Like right now, we're going to be animating hair, but I want to think about the action of the hair is going to be driven by the action of the bear, because the hair is secondary action. It's going to, it's going to react to what the bear is doing. So I want to make sure that I get that action working right on the bear first, and then I can go back in and draw the hair. Now, maybe it's wind that you're talking about, in which case I do the same thing. I would go back in and I would animate the primary actions first, and then I would think about the wind and the way it's blowing and animate that secondarily. So I'm going to get this other foot right about, let's see, I want to get it, let's see. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do this. See, this is what I'm talking about. You guys are going to just see, me make choices, change my mind. I want to do the other foot. So here, I want to have this one dragging a little bit. Like it's coming up. And I want to make sure I get the massing. The thing about bears too, you want to make sure you get their elbow low enough. Their elbows, they have a long upper arm. Yeah, Dustin.
When tackling animations like the Beast, for example, did you have the background slates of the scene to use as reference?
Yes. So what's the process is done like this. The storyboards are done. From the storyboards, the layouts are created, and the camera work. They're going to decide where the camera is going to be, how big the characters are going to be in each shot, and then backgrounds are drawn. The layout is drawn, and that that is then approved by the directors to and then you try to look at an entire sequence and try to see the flow. That's called a workbook, and it basically describes everything that's going to happen in a sequence of shots. From there, the layouts they go in two different directions. The layout will go to the animator, and so that way the animator knows when you get your scene to animate, you have a rough drawing of the size of the character and where they are in the shot. Then you have the layout, which are all the props and the stage and all that, and then then you have your field guide, which shows you the framing of what the shot's going to be, so you don't go outside the framing. So you handle, as an animator, I would handle that. And then meanwhile, the other part of it goes to the layout, goes to the background department. This is back in the old days when we were painting in 2D. And a background painter would then paint the background. So that's how that would get done. So I'm going to do, see, now here I want this leg coming up like this, and I'm thinking about the other leg right down in here, like so. Yeah, Dustin?
When doing story, do you, I'm sorry, Gus in my eye. Do you use it to react?
Oh, that's way too big.
To react structure, where do you let the story dictate the format?
You completely lost me. Read that question to me again. You got to read it a little better.
Story, do you use it to react structure? Where do you let the story dictate the format?
I still don't understand what you're asking. When I read it one more time.
When doing story,
yeah,
do you use it to react structure?
To react structure?
Yeah, to react structure. That's what he wrote.
I don't know what that means. I'm sorry, whoever's asking the question, I don't quite understand. When I'm working, if you're talking about story structure, the structure is inherently part of the story. So we always try to make sure that we have good structure while we're working, if that's what you're asking. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't quite understand what it is that you're asking.
To 3-act. Use it to 3-act?
3-act structure, yeah. We always use 3-act structure.
Yeah, that's apparently Nick wrote it wrong. Instead of 3-act, it's supposed to say 3-act. So do you use it to 3-act structure? Where do you...
Okay, just read the whole thing to me again. I'm getting frustrated.
We'll just...
No, read the whole thing to me one more time.
Okay. When doing story, do you use 3-act structure, and where do you let the story dictate the format?
Okay, well, the format is always there. The story never dictates the format, and the format never dictates the story. It's just I use the format to check my story. If I'm doing story and I'm struggling, it's usually for a structural reason, and that's when I'll refer back to my format, and I'll kind of go down my checklist of points that I should be hitting at any given point in the story. And I know it sounds on the surface that that's somewhat formulaic, but it's really not. It's just a checklist to make sure that you're hitting everything that you should be hitting. And more often than not, when we're having problems with our story, things aren't firing off in the right way, that means somewhere along the way we missed something in our structure. Something wasn't set up right. There might be a problem with our first act, second act, however, whatever. And so a lot of times, once we start checking that, then we get it. So the format for me is there to kind of help get us through, help kind of troubleshoot the story process when we're struggling. So real quick, so here is kind of the stretch. Once again, a bear, it doesn't have a huge amount. I really don't like this under here. It looks too funky. There's not a huge amount of stretch. So that's the first thing to think about. And I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to enlarge his head just a bit because it feels a bit small. That feels better to me. Now we got a bear. There we go. All right, that feels good. So now I'm going to get some of this here. I'm thinking about this shoulder coming up into here. And the other thing too, I want to emphasize is that because all the weight is taken off of the shoulders, the hump isn't going to be as tall as when he takes the weight. So in anticipation of him kind of coming down and planting his weight, that hump will really get emphasized. And the other thing too, as he's stretched out like this, there's one thing I should do here. That is, I'm going to bring the pelvis up. Flatten the pelvis out just a bit. The top plane of the pelvis. So this is where I just kind of clean up some, because you know these are key drawings. For me, I want to make sure that they're right because they really dictate everything that's going to come after. There we go. How we doing, Dustin?
Doing good. I heard that in run we go into a pose and out of pose. Is that correct?
Well, I mean, the thing about a run, and I did actually, it's a good question, but it's not quite the right question, and because you're right, you do go into a pose and out of a pose. Every drawing is a new pose. So a run, you know, there's straight ahead animation and kind of pose to pose animation. When I did, let's say, when I did this grizzly bear walk, I actually started with hitting my 4 main poses first, and then I was able to connect them with in-betweens because it's not super broad. All right, now the grizzly run is going to be much more broad, and therefore, man, now that I've seen it, I got to get that back end a bit bigger, and I'm going to break him a little bit. Let's just do this. It's going to be much broader, meaning the action is going to be a lot faster and a lot more is going to be happening. And so therefore, let me do this. I'm just going to go straight ahead. I'm just going to hit everything. But I will hit some main poses first. So I want to make sure that I'm getting that, bear has kind of a pear shape to them. So as I get this hip, see how I'm raising that pelvis up in the air? I want to make sure that I'm getting that, making sure that's very bear-like. I want to get that bulk. There we go. That feels better. Better?
And which out of those two do you
that
prefer?
leg is
Do you
too long.
prefer the pose to pose or straight head?
To me, it's not a matter of preferring it. To me, those are tools. So it depends on what it takes to get the shot done, really. So to me, it's not a preference. It's just this is what I do to do this, and this is what I do to do this. They're both equal in my approach. So we'll just start this. That leg still looks a little long, but that's okay. I'm just going to go with it for now. We're going to get these. I'm just going to go really rough, boom. Okay, so there's our first drawing. That took a while. Okay, but let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead. I think I'm going to shrink them up just so we have a little bit of room. Let's put them up in the air. There we go. So let's do another drawing. Let's turn that light table on so now I can see the drawing before. There we go. So now I want, as he's coming down, I want to have those feet planted. Now we're going to have, I will put a few in-betweens in here, but I'm basically going straight ahead with, I'm thinking basically on 2s, I think. We're going to have about probably 5 real strong key drawings.
Are you using references for your drawings?
No, right now? No, I'm not using any reference. We're doing this out of our head, baby. No reference here. And the reason I wanted to do it with no reference is I wanted to show you today, that ground plane is too much. That if you, with the right study and practice, eventually this gets burned into your head. And I want to do one more thing. I'm going to do this. I'm going to tilt him down just a touch. There we go. So now what I want to have is I want to have this foot planted. Whoops. This foot's going to be planted. And this one's going to be planted here. You'll see I'll go very, very rough when I'm doing really broad runs like this. I'll just lay in very rough. And then this foot's already going to be back here. See, I'm jumping ahead in the keys.
When animating from a script or storyboard, how can you tell if you need to scrap an animation and start over?
Say that again. I don't understand the question again.
When animating from a script or storyboard, how can you tell if you need to scrap an animation and start over? Like, basically when you think when it's not a good enough animation to start over.
That's an odd question because I don't approach it that way. You know, we do, because animation is so labor intensive. Okay, because it's so labor intensive, we always break up the process so that you don't move on to the next process until the last one is done correctly. So when I get a shot in a movie, the first thing that I'm going to do, and I'm going to get together with the directors, is I'm going to look at the storyboards, and then I'm going to take what's in the storyboards and kind of process it and see if I can improve it. And then I'm going to do thumbnails. I'm going to do these little drawings that are going to describe the entire action of the scene. And then I'm going to go to the director and say, hey, what do you think of this? And hopefully the director will say, yeah, that's great. Or they're going to say, you know what, I'm not liking it, but why don't we try this instead? And so we get that out of the way so that by the time I get to the point of animating, I know exactly what I'm going to be doing. And so the reason I'm saying that is almost always when I've gotten to the point where I'm animating, I never scrap anything because I've already done the homework before, and then I'm just working on mechanics. And mechanics, you know, they can be difficult sometimes, but that to me I don't end up scrapping anything over that. I just work it all out. So the answer is, you know, do it, you know, one phase at a time, and that way you'll really minimize having to ever scrap any of your work at all. It's like, you know, you don't build a building without floor plans. If you just did it out kind of willy-nilly out of your head, yeah, you might scrap it. So here, I'm actually going to do this. I'm going to pull these arms back. I'm going to bring this head back. I'm going to bring his head up further. So here I want to bring that head up in here. And it's going to look really weird, but there's actually, I'm jumping way ahead in the cycle. There we go. There's that arm, and this arm back here.
Uh-oh.
There we go. No moose. I don't want to hear moose.
What, did you see it?
No, I didn't see it, but I just heard, when I heard you say uh-oh, I knew someone's going to say draw a moose.
Yep, in all caps somebody wrote, "Where's the moose?"
So here, there's the pelvis coming back. I'm thinking about that anatomy underneath. Into the thigh, the tail's down here. Notice how that pelvis right here is curling under. Here, there's the top plane of the pelvis there, and here the plane has come down. Because it's got to come down so those legs can start to come forward.
So for the...
Actually, I'm going to straighten his legs out just a touch.
So for the pattern of the of the feet of the bear when he's running. Does it run with a rotary pattern or a transverse pattern?
Well, I'll show you the pattern that he's taking, because I don't know what that is, what you're talking about. I don't worry about that kind of stuff. I look at, there we go. So this foot right here is going to land, followed by this foot, followed by this back foot, followed by this back foot, okay? So it's going to be front left, front right, rear left, rear right. That's going to be the pattern. I guess that's rotary. Or transverse, actually. So I'm not sure, but you tell me if I'm wrong. But but it's interesting because I've watched hundreds and hundreds of different animals running, and they'll do it that way, then they'll switch it up, and they run any way they want. So it's really just about, making it look consistent. But I could switch it up, and I could go front left, front right, rear left, and it would still look right, because sometimes they'll do that.
What shortcuts do you use on your digital pencil?
I don't use any. I'm terrible with shortcuts. If you're talking about my iPad Pro, that pencil, or are you talking about on my stylus here? I'm assuming it's maybe the stylus here, which I don't have anything programmed in. So here you can see that the left rear foot is crossing over in front of the front foot right here. And you'll get just a little bit of crossover there. I want to get that belly all getting squished up. The latissimus muscle coming up in here. Once again, I'm going to mention we've got 25% off all of my animation lessons, because we're doing animation today, and we just thought it would be nice to kind of share that with you guys. I'm going to do something here really quick after I get done this part. I'm just going to knock that back. Once again, I'm going very, very loose.
Oh, you talked about the way you switch between a pen and eraser, like that kind of. But doesn't the back end of your stylus act as an eraser?
Yeah, this always acts like an eraser, but that's not really a shortcut. That's just the way it's built. So what I'm doing right now, you'll see I'm just tracing off this head. And the reason I'm doing that is I want to make sure that I keep the size consistent. This is one of the things I love about. And you'll see I'm doing it very loosely because I'm going to be moving some things around. It's one of the things I love about TV Paint, is that I can then come in and go chop right there, and then move it. I want to move it. So I'm going to bring his head up just a little bit. We're going to bring it up here. See, he's getting ready to drive that next. His head's coming up. As these feet are coming back, he's going to then drive so that those feet catch up. So I want to bring that head up here. But now, see, by doing this, I've been able to keep it. I'm going to bring the head up here. I'm going to stretch it out just a bit. There we go. By doing that tracing, then I was able to keep the head size consistent. Sometimes I eyeball it, sometimes I cheat like this, and this was a quick cheat. Whoops. There we go. So now I'm looking at this head come up, so I want to bunch up this neck muscle and really push those shoulder blades up. This fur is going to drag. This This is going to come up into the neck. You're going to get a nice straight coming down into from the neck into this part of the muscle. I mean, this part of the shoulder. The ear. I'm going to let that ear, I'm going to exaggerate it. I'm going to let that ear drag a bit. Maybe pull down on that bottom lip. You're awfully quiet over there, Dustin. Everyone stop talking?
Just filtering through the questions.
Gotcha. So I want to get this nice, that's where the canine is, underneath the muzzle. I'm going to pull that bottom lip down. So here, yeah, I mean, you can see how long, you know, the first couple of drawings, I'll work through them. But already just getting these two drawings is really going to help dictate the rest of this run. Because this, if I were to draw through, this comes all the way through right into this, that arm right there. You see that? Right up into that elbow.
How long did it take for you to make your own style? Like
you know, your style, I think style, I get that question a lot, you know, about people, you know, young people wanting to attain their own style in art or animation. And I think style is an ongoing thing. Your style will change. My style changes, you know, every couple of years. And it's just something that evolves and changes as you evolve and change as an artist. I think your style, a lot of times, is a reflection on your skill level and where you are mentally. And so as you mature and as your views change and what you're doing, your style will change. And so my biggest recommendation for folks that are asking about that is just don't worry about style. Just work, and your style will come. It will just evolve. I don't, you know, there's very few people in my mind that have gone out and said, I'm establishing a style. I know some people have, but not very many. And so, you know, just get out there and do it. Just draw, and it'll happen. Okay, so here it's got a little bit of a compression here. So we got two drawings here. Got a little bit of a drag coming off of there. So let's, I'm going to do an in-between for that. We'll end up, I think we're going to end up probably with about 9 drawings, probably, usually in a really fast run cycle. Actually, for a bear, it'll probably be more like 12 drawings. But I'm just going to add, whoops, there we go, there we go. I'm going to add an in-between in here so that you guys can see how I think. So I want to get those hips coming around this way. I want to have that head starting to come up, but I think I'm going to bring it back. I want to have that head kind of going in a circle like that. So I'm going to have him kind of coming up this way. Matter of fact, why don't we just do what we did? I'm going to trace that sucker off again really quick. Just the rough shape. I want to, you know, I'm always thinking about the physics. What does he have to do in order to get that big bulk moving? And part of it is really kind of setting that spring, setting that the momentum through getting that head up. That head really drives that momentum. So what I want to do with this now is I'm just going to go ahead and move it. I might have them drag it just a little bit and bring it here. Let's see what that looks like.
Will there be a video course or a live painting on birds or reptiles?
Yes, there will be. There definitely will be, eventually.
Have you ever touched a bear in real life?
Yes, I have.
You have?
Yes. I've played with young grizzly bears, and I have. So it was pretty cool. So I'm going to have here, I want to have this foot down. Actually, I'm going to have this foot back here. We're still going to have another drawing in between, I think. This is the back foot. I'm going to put it back here. I want to make sure my spacing is right.
And somebody asked me personally if I draw. I draw a little bit, not as much, and they're just kind of, I would say they're decent. They're not great or bad. They're just right in the middle there.
You're a good drawer.
Thank you.
And Nick's a good drawer too. Nick Birch. Another Ringling grad, where Nick is. So here I'm taking that foot and I'm planting it, and that head is coming up.
What free animation programs would you recommend for beginners?
You know what? I get that question a lot. I don't know, because I use TV Paint. I've been animating for a long time. And so when I went over to the digital side of things, I wasn't looking for beginner software. I just dove into TV Paint because I liked it. So I don't have any experience, unfortunately, with beginner software. Although I have seen there's a free download called Pencil, so I take it back, because I did try that one time and I thought it was interesting. And it's something that's, like I said, it's free, so you don't have to, you can just mess around with it. But other than that, I don't really know.
When you were a kid, were you ever interested in coloring books, or were you more interested in drawing your own stuff?
When I was a kid, I was always interested in drawing my own stuff. Now this looks confusing. It looks like I'm tracing this other foot. I'm actually not. It just so happens that the way the spacing is working, the far foot is falling right now for these drawings. It's falling right where this foot is. This chest is going to come down. So I want to bring him, they have a lot more bob, up and down. So I want to bring this up here.
Is it bad to only draw from reference?
I don't think there's bad anything. I think there's healthier habits, just like there's, healthy habits in eating and things like that. So the thing about drawing from reference only is that when you do that, you're not really experiencing the whatever it is that you're trying to draw. Let's say grizzly bears. If you only draw from pictures of grizzly bears and not ever try to get out and see a real grizzly bear, then you don't really understand what it is that you're drawing. And so I always recommend getting out and strive to find your subject. I want there to be a little bit of an arc here, like this. So I want to bring that foot up.
When you animated Nala, who did Simba, and how did you two work together?
Mark Henn did Simba, and we were both in the Florida studio together in Orlando. And so if we had shots that had both characters, we would just determine which character was dominant, and that animator would start, and then we would go back and forth. More often than not, Simba was dominant. But here we go. I'm going to bring this foot up here, because this one's getting ready to come forward. And you can see there's the opposite foot right there. So I want to get it in here somewhere, right in here. So, and we'll see the in the bottom of it, the bottom of the foot, just like that. So he would, you know, he would start the shot first, and then I would take over, or vice versa, and that's pretty much how we'd work it. And that's how, you know, when you have multiple characters in a shot, that's pretty much how it's always done, or how we always did it. So I'm trying to go a little bit slower just to, there we go. We might end up going in and making a few adjustments, because his arms here are feeling kind of long, but I'm purposely trying to exaggerate them a little bit. I got to bring that shoulder down, there we go. So here the head's starting to come back up to get ready to drive that next stride. I get that ankle in there. See how that head starts to come up to go to the next stride? Let's do the next one. I'm going to go ahead and copy this so I know where we're going. That's what I usually do. And then paste it.
So how do you change the camera angle when drawing? Like imaging the view from the bare switches from side view to front view. How would you even go about that?
You just got to do it mentally. You redraw it. As a matter of fact, it reminds me of a story. I was animating. I was animating on The Lion King, and I did this upshot. It was supposed to be from the point of view of Zazu, and it was Nala and Simba, and they're looking down on him, making kind of a funny face. I can't remember what they're saying, but it had to be an upshot. And so I animated it as this upshot, but then the directors, they watched it and they said, "Hey, it looks great. We love it. Acting beautiful. All the drawings are really nice. Can you just do it so that the camera's up just a little bit higher?" This is hand-drawn animation, so it just meant I had to redraw it. So that's what you got to do. You just got to imagine it, and I think if I'm answering the question right.
Do you like drawing people, and what kind of people do you like to draw most?
I do like to draw people. I'm going to bring this head way out here. Actually, I'm going to do this. There's nothing that I like to draw less or more. I like to draw people, animals, everything. I think when it comes, you know, if it just comes down to what I find interesting, I really love doing, you know, drawing people in situations. I love doing really ethnic, native types of things as well. It's just kind of where my heart and soul is.
I remember, however, once in a while, we would be like out at lunch or dinner, and you would see like an old person, or like somebody with like really cool hair, or like just like a really cool looking person, and you just end up just drawing them.
I did.
And then you hand the artwork to them.
Yeah, I like to make people happy. So that was always fun. So what I want to do here is I want to get his head really pushing out. Right out in here.
Do you think left-handers draw better than right-handers?
Well, there is a lot of left-handed artists. Now, I'm not going to say no that they draw better, but there are a lot of left-handed artists, which I always found interesting. There we go. We do this. See how that head is, he's kind of striving to push forward. That's what I'm trying to get it to do. Push. He's pushing. And now that I see that, you can see how the fur would kind of drag now. Oh, right in there. I'm just going to let this kind of come back. He's pushing off with those front feet, so this is going to start coming up. And then this the far foot should be coming up in here. I'm drawing through right now.
What is one place you have not been that you would like to travel to, and what animal or animals would you be going to learn about?
I would love several. So there's a lot of places in the world that I've never been and I want to go. I want to go. Okay, let's go down the list. Let's start on where North and South America. So North America, I've been hitting quite a bit, and there's, you know, believe it or not, I haven't really been to the Northwest in North America. So I'm striving towards that. But working down towards South America, I've never been to the Amazon, and I want so badly to go to the Amazon and just kind of get lost there for a while. And then going further south, I want to get down into Patagonia and explore that area quite a bit. Patagonia is just amazing. And here we got to do one more thing. So I just want to explain something real quick. So as he's coming through, you can see, man, that's a bad drawing. We'll go in and fix that. Actually, I'm going to do it right now. I want to get there we go, right up into this latissimus muscle. That'll work later. And then I want to get to New Zealand and Australia really, really, really bad as well. And then I also want to go to Antarctica. And, you know, that's a big, rugged, dramatic, wonderful place. I want to get up to northern Canada. I want to get up into Churchill where the polar bears come in. You know, there's a lot of places I want to go. So now as he's pushing off, you notice I'm pushing I'm pushing these shoulder blades up higher and higher. I got to pull this arm back. This whole arm should come back.
How would you approach an acting shot with an animal? Like, any tips on planning, where the animal's walking around or talking?
You know, the shot is dictated by what is needed in the shot. So there's no real solid answer I can give you on that, other than the way I would approach all of my animal shots is the same I would approach any shot. It doesn't matter if it's a human talking or acting or an animal. I would go through and understand what's supposed to be getting across in the shot, in the scene. What's the idea? What's the emotion? And there, I'm going to bring, notice how the hips are starting to come down now. This is where he's really getting kind of compressed, right here. And now the foot, sorry, I'll answer the question. I just want to get this real quick. It's coming in here, and it's reaching down. It's going to be, whoops, it's going to be reaching down. This is where everything kind of bunches up. So it's that foot, that back foot is passing in front of the front foot. And this is more of a harder run than, it's arguable that they would pass in front of each other quite this much, but I like pushing it a little bit. But anyway, going back to your question, so it's really just, it's going through the process of understanding what the shot's about, and then understand that emotion, and you want to get that emotion across. So it's thumbnailing. Once again, I always go back to thumbnailing. That's the biggest, most important part of the process of animating, and that's figuring out what it is that you're going to do with your shot, and doing it ahead of time so that when you actually start to animate, you know where you're going. So here, the back foot on the other side is already planted. It's going to be planted right now. Let's say back a little further. Where is it? Here it is here. So let's plant it right here. Right there. I want to make sure the physics feel right. And it's going to be turned in just a touch. And that's going to be coming up and really straight, but you're not going to know that. So here, everything's bunched up really tight. You know, everything's really compressed. This is the most compressed the bear will be. He's getting ready to explode out of this. I'm going to pull that back end down just a bit more.
What type of music do you listen to when you draw?
I love to listen to, I go back and forth. Musically, I love listening to blues. I've always been a blues fan. I like playing the blues because I play guitar. But lately I've been really just listening to a lot of kind of down-tempo, chill-out music. It's really relaxing. New age sometimes I like. I know that sounds kind of corny, but I do. I like new agey stuff. I'm just going to go in here and define the head a little bit. Just darken it up.
Can you do a stream on lip sync at some point?
You know, that's a great idea. Whoever asked that, that's a wonderful idea, and I will do that because I have very specific ideas and opinions about lip sync and my approach, and yeah, I would love to do that. So we'll put that on our list. So whoever asked that, good on you, because we'll definitely put that on our list.
What is lip sync again?
It's matching up the mouth shapes with the dialogue.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just you doing an animation of that.
Yep.
Oh, okay. It's just the way that it was. You phrased it. I thought it was like a software or something.
Oh no, not at all. But I can see how you would have thought that.
Yeah.
There we go. So now let's get this off. Well, actually, we're going to move this out. So you can see he's getting that stride. He's getting ready to go into that next run. So now I want to, once again, I'm going to pull this out right there. Let's add it in between in here. Now we're starting to fill that run out.
Do you think manga's made drawing more popular to the youngsters?
Manga or manga?
Yeah, it's pronounced manga, but a lot of people say it's manga.
I guess.
Japanese comics.
I think so. I think it has. Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm looking at something right now. Let's see. I'm always looking at the action. I'm wondering if I should keep. I'm gonna try something. I think I'm wondering if the head should continue up actually. Anything that interests kids and gets them drawing, I think is a good thing. And I do think manga or manga, or however you say it, has done that. I want to try something. I want to do something a little different. Because I want to get that up and down. We got to get that bobbing motion. So here, I'm just going to take a guess.
Could you do a stream based on facial expressions and emotions sometime?
Yeah. That's another good idea. I could do that. So I want to have this foot. Here's the hip. There's the pelvis. He's pushing off. There we go. And we'll have the other foot back here. They don't have to be really separated by a whole lot. There we go. I want to get that pear shape. So here, if I continue the head coming down, we're going to get that kind of gesture through the body. I keep everything really rough at this stage, so you can see I'm just scribbling. I want to find what feels right.
How many in-betweens do you think you would need between each of the frames?
Some of them are going to need in-betweens at all, and other ones will need probably one. We'll probably end up, or two even. So here, everything's kind of bunching up. That's what he's doing here. He's getting ready to reach. I'm trying to decide what to do with that head, because part of me, first of all, that drawing, the one we started with, that butt's way too high in the air, so I'm going to change that. But this is the one that I'm looking at. I'm thinking maybe I should bring that head up just a little bit. And I think we can do it. I think we can do it. Maybe. Let's do this. Let's cut it off there. Just going to see if this will look right. I'm going to bring this up like that. Actually, let's bring it up more. Yeah, that's what I should have had. Right in there. See how we got that nice straight under the neck? And I should get that fur bunched up. The neck muscle bunched up there. I'm gonna go with that right there. And we're gonna clear that selection. I'm gonna go to here. So now,
oh, this is an interesting question, I think, personally. How different are American and Japanese animations? Like, is Miyazaki too different? Like, does he use a different approach to the art?
No, I don't think his approach is that much different than American. I think the storytelling approach is different, but I don't think his the animation is that different. I mean, we have so many different styles. It's hard to say. I mean, there's Disney style, there's SpongeBob SquarePants, there's South Park. I mean, there's so many different styles. To me, it's hard to say what style you're talking about. But I mean, Miyazaki is just another style of animation. What really makes Miyazaki stand out, I think, is his style of storytelling. You know, and they've beautiful, beautiful layouts. You know, I really love how he treats effects animation, the environment, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and plus I like the like how fluid the animation is, whether if it's like the people running or like the way the waves crash, or even just like the trees and all that, just the way it all animates.
Yeah.
It's just like there's like a beautiful flow to it.
Exactly. So here I want to start bringing this head down and coming out. Bringing it down and coming out. Let me see how that looks. So I'm going to there we go. And then I'm going to adjust. You know, a lot of times I'll start with a drawing like this one we started with, and I'll get all the way through the stride like we're doing, and then I'll go, you know what? That drawing doesn't work anymore. And that's kind of how I feel about it now. So once I get this in between done, then I think I'll go back in and redraw. So here, this is the peak of his kind of driving forward. So the neck is going to be kind of stretched in there. And see how the rest of the body's catching up?
Which is your favorite Studio Ghibli film? Like mine personally is Princess Mononoke.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah?
I love Princess Mononoke. Yeah. And I like yeah, Princess Mononoke, yeah. Or Totoro. I like Totoro as well. My friend Totoro.
Oh yeah, My Neighbor Totoro, yeah.
My Neighbor Totoro, yeah. Thank you.
Nausicaa is another great one. Castle in the Sky, absolutely love that one.
Yeah. So here I'm getting some of that fur underneath. I want to get this. I want to make sure that I'm not missing out on the anatomy. Even though we're going loose. Loose as a goose, baby. So now I can come in and kind of tie things down a little bit more.
So wants me to ask you to talk on the importance of not getting too defensive when getting constructive criticism on art, because he thinks that many young artists struggle with being protective of their work.
You know, what's funny is so many people do, and no one admits that they do it. No one realizes that they do it. Everyone, I think most of the time people want to get, they say they want to critique, but they're really looking for compliments. So you got to be aware of that. Be cautious of that in yourself. You know, are you really just fishing for compliments? Are you really looking to improve it? Are you really willing to hear what somebody else thinks is wrong with it? Or are you just fishing for compliments? And, you know, that's legitimate too. I mean, we all want to be shored up every once in a while, you know, so that's fine. But if you ask somebody, you know, hey, what do you think of this? Or do you think this is working? Or blah, 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 whatever. And someone says, you know what? No, I don't think so. Or they have a different idea. Sit and listen. You don't even have to agree with them. And ultimately, you don't have to do it. But when you ask somebody their opinion, and the first thing you do is say, and I get this all the time, yeah, I know, I was going to do that, but, or, you know, or they just argue about it, then you're shutting the other person down. And there's no point in asking in the first place. So, once again, at the end of the day, you have the ability to say yes or no. So just listen to what they have to say. And then when you go back, really consider what they just said. And see if it improves. You know, one of the strongest traits an artist can have is the ability to see what is different. If someone gives you an opinion or a new idea, is that new idea just different than what you have, or is it truly better? And that's where you have to draw the line, because so many people, they'll just think it's a different idea, and they have a hard time understanding whether or not it's a better idea. And then the next phase is, do you have the drive to actually go in there and change it and fix it to make it a better idea? So once again, if you ask, be prepared to hear answers that you don't necessarily want to hear. There, so we're getting a little bit of a run here. Remember I tilted that butt way up in the air? That's what the problem is. I don't like that butt way up in the air. So now what we're going to do is we're going to just go boom.
What animated films you seen that made you cry?
Iron Giant. That's the biggest one. Superman. That's the one that got me.
How do you animate camera movements, like panning, zooming, and tracking shots?
There we go. Well, a lot of times I don't animate panning movements. I do that with the camera. So to me, I think of the camera and my character separately, my animation separately. Some people will animate, complex moves, moving around a character like that, and that, but I don't really do that. So now you can see that I've got one more drawing, I think, that's gonna, and I think it's after this drawing. I think we need one more, like, big stretch in here. I know I was saying that we shouldn't have it before, but I think we kind of do. So, oh, what is that? Oh, this is the one that I adjusted, right? Oh, let me come back here. Let me get rid of this one. And let me copy this one.
Nick says, pretty sure he cries at Bambi 2. For that matter, he cries at coffee commercials.
McDonald's commercials. Olympics commercials. Those are the ones that get me. I am a sap. I will make no qualms about it. I'm the biggest sap. So once again, this is just meant to be kind of a big lumbering run. But let's get... I think I want to make it a little bit more dynamic. I want to get that nice reach. So right between here and here, we need a drawing. Right there. That's going to become an extreme drawing. Once again, all of these pretty much are extremes. Let's pull this foot in here. Reach. And then this one's going to be coming and reaching. This is the far foot.
Have you seen Ghost in the Shell yet?
I have not. And the reason I haven't is I keep reading terrible reviews on it, so I've kind of lost interest. And I know normally I shouldn't follow what the reviewers say, but more often than not, I tend to agree with reviewers. And so I haven't gone to see it. Plus, often after animating all day, a lot of times I'm just too tired to go see a movie.
Yeah, when it comes to, me personally, when it comes to like adaptations from animes or from video games, they tend to not be so great compared to the original. Like they end up just getting torn apart.
Now, there's a lot of cool visuals in it that I'm interested in. I'd like to see.
Yeah, there are a lot of cool visuals, but at the same time, it's like... I mean, if you've seen the movie without seeing the original content, then yeah, everybody would think it's alright and whatnot, but someone like me who's like seen the animes and played the games before I see the movie, then I'm like, this doesn't feel right, that doesn't feel right.
Gotcha. So. Got any other questions in there?
Do you sell original works or animation project files for download?
I don't, and I haven't. But you know what? That's a great idea. As far as the project files for download, I've never really thought about that.
Do you or have you ever used ZBrush?
I have not used ZBrush. I've been wanting to use ZBrush. I'm getting my volumes are getting a little messed up here. I got to make sure that the volume on this paw is getting too big on the arm. I want to use ZBrush. I'm really interested in ZBrush. I've just never used it. I want to see something real quick. I might need a drawing in between these two because I want to get those back legs really stretched. Actually, this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to adjust the drawing.
So what's the are there any differences between animating in 2D or 3D? Like what different struggles does each have?
Well, to me, the principles are the same. And to be honest with you, I don't know 3D well enough to give an opinion on why it's harder than 2D. Obviously, in 2D, you're drawing. So that's, drawing is a struggle in itself, let alone making something move and become alive. So there's that. But as far as the principles go, the physics and all of that kind of stuff, that's all the same. And so that in itself can be a struggle, creating convincing physics. So, and acting, getting emotion across. There's got to be another drawing here. This is one of the things I hate about doing runs, is that at 24 frames a second, there's not enough frames per second. Here we go. I'll be putting an in-between in there in a little bit. But now, see, now we're going to get a nice pop. See, we're getting a nice run happening now. And that foot is, see the front right foot, we're getting a nice arc as it comes up and over. That head is driving. I want that head driving the run. There we go. There we go. I'll have it come right in here.
Have you ever used Maya?
No, I've never used Maya. I tried to learn Maya years ago, and I got so frustrated with it. It was just me, because I was still drawing at the time, and I just got so it felt so non-intuitive that I just said, I'm done. And I never went back to it. That's my attitude. So I have, at the time, and I'm still working on it, and my son will tell you my patience level is not very big.
It's low. It's like while other people's patience gauge goes like from 1 to 100, Dad's is like 1 to 10. Well, it's not that bad, maybe 50. But yeah, I've personally tried Maya before, but the best I could do on the first try was like a very, very blocky version of like a helicopter.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Oh cool.
So, like, it was one of those Pelican helicopters.
Yeah.
The ones that the propellers can rotate.
Yep.
Yeah. I was able to make like a blocky version of one of those. But.
So here, the momentum of that foot having just come off the ground right here, look at that big jump. I got to definitely do some in-betweens in here. But see that from here to here, there's that momentum coming up, so it's got to carry that, it'll carry that foot up in the air. See that? And the hip is up here, coming down to the thigh. That thigh is already starting to come forward, but the calf is kind of following through. There we go. Keeping it loose, keeping it loose, keeping it loose. I talk to myself, especially, I talk like this even when you guys aren't here. I'll talk to myself to get myself through the shot. Because complicated mechanics are just that. They're complicated mechanics. And so I know a lot of animators that, we've been doing it for 30 years. And unless you're doing this every day, you're going, okay, there's a lot of complexity going on in here. And you gotta kind of talk yourself through it. Man, I'm spitting all over my screen. Nice.
How much of a concept do you have when you start drawing? Do you already have an idea of the pose, the lighting, or do you have a more of a general idea, like, I want to draw a bear?
Yes and yes. Sometimes I have a full idea of what I want. Other times I don't have a clue of what I'm going to do. And it might not even be I'm going to draw a bear. Sometimes it's just I want to draw, but I don't know what the hell I'm going to draw. There we go. So now, there, you see that? You get the paws kind of rolling around let's just put this on 2s. Let's just see where we want. Let's just put this on 2s.
Oh man.
I think that's the same as that one. So I'm just going to get rid of this one first. So if we play this, that's about the pace we want. So that's a 12 frame run, but you can see that let me stop this. There's a lot of, you could use a lot more fluidity in it. And that's just because we're running on 2s. But that's our basic run right there. And you see, I mean, the ear is kind of flopping all over the place. I got to fix that. So I'm going to run through this really quickly, and we'll get this running nice and fluid. But that's a bear run. And we'll get the nice stretch in the paws. You can see that we're not really getting that when the paws come forward. And we're not getting the nice pop and the stretch in the back legs as they come off the ground. So, but we're getting, you can see that kind of wave of action going through the body that I was talking about. It starts with the head and it kind of makes its way down through the rest of the body. But there's that first run, our first pass. And so now I'm just going to come through and, like I said, I think the timing is right. I like that timing. So now we're just going to go through and sure it up with in-betweens.
Christopher C. wrote, "This is a funny looking moose, Aaron."
You busted! It's not a moose. I'm going to do a moose though.
It's not a moose, eh? It's a giant beaver.
And I'll tell you, I'm going to surprise you guys the week after next with some moose drawings.
Man, I'm not a bear. I hate bears. Well, gee, you're one big beaver. Favorite line of the whole movie.
So here I'm just going to run through real quick. Want to keep that arc. And then what I'll do is once I get this set, then I'm going to go through and I'll hit all my secondary action, the ear drag, the hair. I'll make sure that that's all right. That lip is going to drag a little bit. I think the ear is working the right way here, actually. We're going to let that hair just drag down. You got anything else for me, Dustin?
Dragons? That's seriously a question. Dragons?
Dragons? Don't. I think you guys are getting punchy. You're getting bored. See, the spacing is going to be a little messed up here too, I think. Yeah, the spacing will be a little funky, but we'll just roll with it for now, and I could always adjust it later. But I think the feet are a little close together here.
Perhaps on the future stream you can show some of your college and high school work so we can see how you progress to now.
I can show you some of my college work. I got to dig it up. I don't have anything from high school. Unfortunately, when I was in high school, my house burnt down and I lost everything. So I don't have any artwork from before I was 18 years old. But I can definitely dig up some of my college stuff. I think I've still got some stuff laying around somewhere.
And Pigs by Liz, thank you very much for your compliment of my imitation with that moose.
Yeah. I'll keep this arc going. There we go. Yeah, some of these, you know, we might not even need this in between, but I'm gonna finish it anyway. And you're going to see I'm going to keep these really quick and rough. I'll tie it down another time. But here I want to get, there's that other foot, so it's the in-between is going to be in here. What?
No, so I just
moose.
asked a question towards me. Well, yeah, there's plenty of moose questions. Like, in fact, somebody's saying you should draw a squirrel on moose antlers. But let's say yes, I am currently single.
Okay, this isn't the dating game.
Are you? Hang on.
So once again, I'm going to remind you guys, while Dustin's trying to pick up a date, I got all my animation courses on my website are on sale today, 25% off. And as we do animation here today. So once again, I want that when you got a character that's running like this in the front feet, you more often than not, the back feet go on the outside. As we get this compression, as they pass through, as the back feet or the front feet pass through, the front feet or the back feet, the back feet come forward. They come forward on the outside, like this. Boop. So let's do the next one. What you got, Dustin? What you got? What you got for me?
I was just about to ask a question.
I know.
If you have a frame where one leg is in one place and in the next one you have the opposite leg in the same place, how can you drive the viewer's eyes so they can understand the motion?
If it's on ones, I usually don't worry about it. If it's on twos, then I just adjust. I'll just adjust the legs so that they don't overlap each other in that way. That's really all you can do. You just adjust it. But if I'm doing on ones, it goes by so quickly that you usually don't notice it. But like I said, if you're on twos or you know, and like in this case here, where is it? You know, there's an overlap right there, or one of them, I can't remember which one it was, but the one leg overlapped the other one, and there we go. But then you know, just adjust the feet. You know, you can adjust the spacing, and it's not going to hurt anything. Let's get that pulled back. Where's that foot? It's back here. Oh, it's come off the ground. I'm going to do this.
Somebody asked if I could do the "Oh My" of George Takei.
Oh my! I can't do it. There you go.
Let me get close to the mic. Oh my!
Nice.
Wow.
Going to have these feet kind of coming up. We're getting out like compression, so I'm getting a lot of jumble of feet and overlap and blah blah blah. All this different. I want to get these muscles in here, coming up in the shoulder blade, thigh muscles, pelvis right there, and do his glutamus maximus. There we go. Yes, Dustin.
For this particular animation, how many frames per second are you using for this?
This is 24 frames per second, but the cycle itself will probably end up being about 13 to 14 frames. Because I think we're going to need an extra in between towards the end of the cycle. But the cycle itself, so basically the cycle itself will end up being about half a second, the entire cycle. So I'm trying to get this ear to drag a little bit. And so here, that ear should still be dragging. Just a touch. hope you guys are enjoying this. I know I was getting, Nick always tells me, man, it's still interesting, but I'm always paranoid that watching somebody animate is just like watching paint dry. But this is, I like talking about the physics and some of the things that I think about in here, so I hope you guys are getting something out of it.
Do you like playing video games? Which ones
No.
you...
No, I've never been a gamer, ever. My son's the gamer in the family. I have never, I think the last time I played video games, other than a few here and there, with the Bond games and all that, I think literally it was like Defender back in the 80s.
Yeah, me personally, I'm a huge Halo fan, but by far the best story, best art, I have to say, is The Last of Us, and I cannot wait for the sequel.
So if I play this, you can see we're getting some nice smooth action in the front, but we still need, this is where it's bothering me. This is where it's really annoying me. From here to here, we don't get a nice stretch because we're popping basically from this drawing to that drawing. So we need a nice stretch in this arm. So we're going to need an in-between in there that does that. Now if you watch the back legs are kind of doing what I need them to do. So we're getting there. It's just you can feel how those front legs are kind of contained. That's what I look for. I look for that kind of stuff. There we go. So let's just keep plowing through. We'll get there. We'll get there sure enough. So that head is starting to drive forward. You see that? It's hit the peak and now he's coming forward. But I want to do that. I want to make sure I get that transition, even though it's on ones. I want to make sure I get that transition nice and smooth. And see how that wave is working its way through the body? Right there, into the pelvis.
Any tips on keeping focused while animating?
It depends. One of the best tips I can give, it depends on what stage of the animation you're at. I'm going to do this. If I'm in a stage where I'm really just kind of laying down the acting and the dialogue, then I can't have any music. And I know that sounds weird and everybody's different, but I know a lot of other animators that are the same way. There's something about when it stimulates the same part of your brain, I think, when you're trying to figure out the acting and the music. See, I'm trying to get a nice straight right here too. I just want it to be a little bit more dynamic. So if I play this, it kind of rolls through, but you at least kind of feel that a little bit. So that's the thing. And then the other thing too is just discipline. You just gotta sit at your desk. A lot of guys, I know a lot of guys that couldn't sit at their desk. And you know what, this drawing here, sorry, I just keep noticing things that need to be changed. This drawing here, oh, there's the foot. Okay, I got it. There's the foot right there. So the in-between is going to be right here. I know a lot of guys that, just they had a hard time staying in their desk. They'd get bored really easy with animation. I think you gotta really love it, and that really requires discipline to just keep sitting there and pushing through. I always set mini goals. That's another thing. I was like, okay, I look at my timeline. I go, okay, I've got 8 drawings I need to get done, and I've got 45 minutes. I want to get these 8 drawings done. And I'd focus on that. And then once I get those done, then I might get up and take a walk around, and I'll come back and go, okay, I got 10 more drawings I want to do. It's good for your heart. And I want to, get that done by a certain amount of time. And so I keep setting these goals. There we go. I keep setting these goals, and And by working it up as like little mini goals, it's like going on a trip. Rather than looking, you know, if you're on a long road trip, if you're going 1,000 miles, you don't think of it as 1,000 miles. You kind of set these little goals along the way, and it makes the trip go a little faster. That's what it is. That's what I do in animation.
And somebody wrote, best way to keep focus while animating? Have your son ask questions off the internet.
Yes. So here I'm having the leg, the front foot kind of turn in a little bit. See how it's turned, this foot right here? It's kind of turning in as it passes through. Not going to worry about the toes right now. It's coming together, baby. It's coming together. Now he's driving forward. See that? Actually, I want to bring that, I want to arc it a little bit. So I'm going to bring that eye up here. Bring the top of the head up here. I love animation. Once again, this whole idea of being able to, oh, see, I screwed up on that lip. This whole idea of being able to take drawings and just through a series of movement, being able to create life like this is addicting. Yeah, Dustin.
Nick wrote in a question saying, do you know bears better than your own children?
Yeah. My son's a Sasquatch.
Yeah, that's true. I'm the missing link.
I don't know what happened.
I have no idea either.
You were so cute when you were little, and then I don't know. Now look at you.
I'm freaking hairy lumberjack.
There we go. See there, boom. See how that head's coming up and then pushing forward. I want to get that nice little arc in the head. Stretch that muscle. What's so funny, Dustin?
Like I said, perhaps towards me, perhaps I'm part bear.
Yeah, it could be.
Yep.
So I'm going to bring this paw up.
Any thoughts on doing a Brother Bear commentary, like live stream or otherwise?
Oh, you know what? That's pretty cool. You know, because we didn't think when we made the movie, Bob and I, my co-director, we went. They wanted us to do commentary. The first thing we said was nobody wants to listen to us talk about our movie for 2 hours. So what we did was we thought it won't be funnier if the Moose did the commentary. So we got Rick Moranis and Dave Thomas to come in, and they did the commentary for us.
That was by far the funniest thing.
Yeah, and that was fun, but we've never ever done any kind of commentary on our own, and I think that could be kind of fun. I wouldn't mind doing that, and I'd like to do that in honor of Bob. You know, Bob, my co-director, he and I were such great friends for such a long time, and unfortunately, a couple of years ago, he passed away in his sleep, and he was a great friend and such a talented artist. Just amazing artist. Here we go. Yeah.
Nick found someone wrote, "Leave Dustin alone. He's majestic."
He's majestic. Nice. He's not majestic.
No, I'm just whatever.
See, here's where the spacing gets really funky. Now all of a sudden you see how the back feet are spaced this way, and now I got to get them to really pop out. Shoot. I think I can get a foot here. Starting to push off.
What do you like to draw the most, humans or animals?
I had that question earlier, Dustin.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh.
You asked that of me earlier.
Well, I think it's a new somebody that just hopped in.
Well, equal. I like them both. I mean, I draw a lot of animals, and so that's probably a preference. But I like drawing. I like drawing everything. I just like to draw. So here's a case where I'm purposely making sure that one drawing doesn't overlap to the next. If you look at the back foot, the rear left foot is going to be stretched out like so. That's about as much as I'm going to stretch it. Because in the next drawing, the rear right foot is stretched out. So it's going to give it a funky kind of look, I think. If I play it, we might need an in-between in there. Actually, you won't even see it. Yeah, it's not too bad. When you're on ones, you can get away with a lot. I almost did this on 30 frames a second just so we could get extra drawings in, but I changed my mind. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to cheat. I'm just going to cheat in here. Trace, cut and paste. It's a bad habit, but we're kind of strapped for time. Oh, another thing I want to remind you, I'm not going to be doing any live streams next week. So for those of you that came in later, I've got some other work that I need to attend to, and so I won't have any no Facebook and no YouTube live streams next week. But we'll pick up the week after. Right on. I love this tool, being able to cut and then place. There we go. Right in there.
What was your first ever animation?
My first ever animation, if you're talking about for a production, was for a short cartoon we were doing with Roger Rabbit. It was called Roller Coaster Rabbit, and it was released with Dick Tracy, the movie Dick Tracy, back in 1989. And it was just a little shot where Roger is on this roller coaster, and he's just seen Jessica Rabbit tied up on the tracks, and then it cuts to him, and he's kind of puzzled by it all, and he just looks at camera, and then all of a sudden he goes flying off the tracks. That was the very first production scene I'd ever done for anything ever. Now, if you're talking about what's the first thing I ever animated, was a little flour sack, bouncing flour sack, when I was learning animation way back in the late 80s.
How do you select your story?
I select stories that I think are universal, that are emotional. One of the things that I always feel is the kiss of death for any story is if someone comes up and says, "Oh man, this is so cool." Cool doesn't sell tickets in my mind. Emotion and character sell tickets, and they make stories worth telling. And so I want something that's going to be really emotional, you know, not to bag on Zack Snyder, but Zack Snyder's movies are the king of cool, but he has a lot of problems and a lot of times in some of his films getting them sold because the cool factor is too high, but the content's not right. And there's a lot of other directors that, that happens to, and I've had that. I struggle with that all the time. And we all get sucked in, I think, especially as men, because cool tends to be that kind of testosterone driven thing. But I really feel strongly that you've got to find that emotional core and the honest characters. Characters that are universal, characters that people can understand, that relate to. Those are the stories that people want to see. There we go. There we go. It's getting a stretch right in there. And there we go. So yeah, so I'm always looking. That's what I look for. I look for emotion, and I look for good character. And then beyond that, from an animation standpoint, I want to see interesting worlds. Toy Story was an interesting world. Bug's Life was an interesting world. Up was an interesting world. Zootopia was an interesting world. So I love that kind of stuff. Here, now I can start to straighten this foot out. We can start to see it flatten out here. What else you got, Dustin? You know what I'm going to do? You know what I'm going to do?
What are you going to do?
You know what I'm going to do? What I'm really going to do?
What are you going to do? What are you really going to do?
I'm going to straighten that paw out. That's what I was struggling. Remember, I was drawing this earlier. I was struggling so hard with it. I couldn't figure out what was wrong. I think if I straighten this foot out more, we won't need the in-between in the way that I thought. If I can get this straightened out. Sorry, Dustin. If I can get this straightened out here. And once again, it's overlapping there. Go ahead, Dustin. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Do you think you'll ever do a video or stream about drawing environments, like the background and stuff, like plants and trees and grass and whatnot?
Yes, I will. Nick's been trying to get that. Is that a Nick question?
No, actually, it's someone by the name of Angelica.
Hey, Angelica. What an angelic name. Nick's been trying to get me to do that. That's why I thought maybe that was Nick. But yes, I will do that. My strength is character, and that's where I spend most of my time. That's the world I spend most of my time in. So that's why I kind of tend to fall into that realm. But yeah, I mean, environment obviously is just as important. So I will do some stuff talking about some environment. There we go. Now let's see if that helped. Yeah, see, that helped for me. That now really all we need are those in-betweens. We're getting closer and closer, guys. He's kind of a happy bobbing bear. He's not a very big bear. I don't have the weight in there that I'd like to get. I think if we got him up in the air a little bit more and then came down a little harder, we might feel a little bit more weight.
How did you feel when you took your first step into the Disney animation studio?
That's a good question. I was really overwhelmed, and because it's interesting. Animation was never anything I aspired to do. I didn't want to be an animator. I wanted to be an animal artist and a painter and an illustrator. And so when I decided to interview with Disney, because I wanted to work for National Geographic, and there was just they didn't have on-staff illustrators, so I decided I'd change up my plan and Disney was coming to interview at Ringling, and so that's when I decided I would do that. I was just kind of like, oh, all right, I'll give it a shot. I wasn't really thinking about how big Disney is. And you got to remember too, at the time, Disney hadn't really made, Oliver and Company had come out, but The Little Mermaid hadn't come out yet. You know, their animation at the time still wasn't what it is now. We hadn't had that big resurgence yet. And so I was just kind of ho-hum on animation. And but I thought, hey, I'd be a background painter. Maybe I could be a background painter. So, but it wasn't until that I got into the internship, I was in California, and I really saw the potential of animation. And not to bag on anything about painting and backgrounds, because I love that too, but there's something about animation that just really hooked me, because I was able now to take my drawings and give them life, and give them a whole different dimension. And so once I started doing that, and once I started seeing the potential of what the studio can do, and then the legacy of the studio, what the studio has done in the past, then I started really feeling the awe and the weight of the responsibility of upholding the quality of what's been done through the years. And so when I first walked into the studio in Orlando as an employee, not as an intern, but as an employee, in this brand new studio that was going to make movies, that's when, there was a huge sense of pride that I felt, and responsibility, and I really loved it. And we made some great movies. And then that's when the whole resurgence happened too, so that was pretty cool.
Were there many female animators when you worked at Disney? Are there many now there or in the industry?
I don't know about the industry now. When I started out, there weren't that many female animators. There was a few here and there. Kathy Zielinski was one of the bigger animators that I remember. She's fantastic. She's a brilliant artist, and she did a lot of great stuff. One of the great characters in Hunchback. What was the villain's name in Hunchback? I'm drawing a blank. Anyway, she was the supervisor for him, and I feel like
Judge
an idiot.
Frollo.
Yes, thank you. I feel like an idiot, but she's just really a great animator. And then we had Ellen Woodbury, who did Zazu. She's fantastic. And it's funny because I see Ellen every once in a while, because I also do animal painting shows and things like that, and she does sculpture, and so we run into each other in completely different disciplines. We're doing art shows and stuff, and we run into each other, so I thought that was kind of cool. And then we're going to get this foot really reaching. There's a lot more female animators now. I just don't know what the ratio is now. Back then it definitely was a more male-dominated industry. And I think that started from the 40s. I think it just kind of carried over the years. And now, since CG has become dominant, there's definitely a lot more women in the industry, and so I think that's fantastic. Fantastic. I will play it again. Yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, we want to get one drawing in between. So I'm going to go copy, and I'm going to paste, and we're going to put a drawing right there. One last drawing. We've been at this for 2 hours. Normally it doesn't take 2 hours to do a run cycle, but I'm not usually running my mouth the whole time either.
Is it really difficult for women to get into the industry? Is it more male driven?
Well, that goes hand in hand with the question we just had. No, I don't think, and I'm speaking from the studios that I've worked at here in the States. I don't know what it is, what it's like anywhere else. Culturally, in other places, I don't know. But I do know, Dustin, can you get the door? Someone just came to the door, sorry. That here in the States, if you can do the work and it's beautiful, it doesn't matter if you're man or woman. So that's that. So that's my opinion there. So we've got someone at the door, which I'm not used to. I need to have a big red flashing light that says, you know, we're shooting. But I'm just placing, I want to get this foot straight out here. There we go, coming out, going into the elbow.
It's I'll do it in the training.
Okay, well, I can't. We're going to keep on doing this. Dustin, you go ahead and sit down. Okay. You look for Papa Marshall, and then come back here. Sorry, guys, we got some guests that have just come in. So anyway, so that's, you know, if you can do the work, then you've got the job. It doesn't matter if you're man or woman. So we're coming up on finishing this up. And here, I want to bunch up that neck muscle. There we go. We'll come in here. Dustin's back. Say hey, Dustin.
Hi.
All right, so that was really creepy. There we go.
Sorry.
I'm kidding.
I'm so creepy. I'm sorry.
So this is, I think the overlap, I got to come back in and rework the overlap in this ear. That fur is going to come down. Get that belly, latissimus muscle. There, the foot's coming forward. And we're going to get this foot back here. There we go. Notice I'm going really quick. There we go. So let's get rid of this drawing. We hit play. There. So we're getting, that feels pretty good. There's our bear run. Yeah, the ear's got, the ear is popping around a little bit, but I'm not going to worry about it too much. But you can at least see, you know, we've got, the biggest thing is looking, you know, look how that head, the head really drives that stride, and that energy moves its way through the rest of the body. And even though some of these drawings we've pushed, I mean, like this one right here, actually, let me go back. You know, you can see the stretch on the back legs. You don't really see them. You don't see it. That's the thing. So when you're animating, a lot of times I'll see animation of animals, let's say in CG, especially for visual effects films, and I don't know why this is, but they try so hard to make it look like real life that they miss, even in real life, there's frames in there that will be extreme, that will be pushed. And if you miss those, it makes your animation feel contained and a little bit a little flatter, not dynamic. And so, you know, this to me feels somewhat contained, but by just having a couple of these pushed straights, you know, like in here, in the back legs, and then those really big pushed front feet, like that. Notice, look how the forearm grows. But I wanted to cheat it a little bit so that we can make it a little bit more dynamic. There, so that's That's a bear running. So we got any more questions, Dustin, before we sign off?
Did you have a video reference for the bear run, or was it all in your head?
No, we just did all this out of our head today. So I've just done a lot of different runs, and I'm thinking about the weight, and I've done a lot of analysis that, you know, we can sit down and I can talk about it, and we can just do it like this. So the other thing too, I want to, you know, one, especially with runs, just want to back up real quick. There's one thing that you want to make sure you don't fall into, and it's kind of there right now, but I think I've broken up the back feet enough, is you don't want to end up, unless you're animating a bunny, you don't want to end up with that bunny hop feel, where it's like just two, you know, 2 feet push off, 2 feet land, 2 feet push off, 2 feet land. That looks like a bunny hop. See, the key to larger animal four-legged runs is to make sure that you have those feet landing at different timings, so that you don't get that feel. And so that's what that is here. So, you know, at any given time, there's only 1 or 2 feet on the ground, and that's it. Okay, so that's what you want to shoot for. So anyway, so that's a bear run. Keep in mind, there's no Facebook Lives or YouTube Lives next week. Go on over to my website, creatureartteacher.com, and check out the sale we've got over there on the animation courses. Plus, you know, if you just want to check out some of the paintings and things like that I've done, some of my development art, we've got a couple of galleries over there. Got a lot of Photoshop brushes, all kinds of fun stuff. So go check that out, and then I will see you the week after next. So go out and do some animation, and you know what, I'd love to see if you know, as we do more and more of these live streams, and if you guys are picking up on stuff and you're applying it to your own work, if you guys can share your work, I'd love for you to send in some examples of your work, and I wouldn't mind sharing them with everybody else. So maybe that's something we can do down the road as well, where we can talk about, you know, people can send in a couple of clips here and there with that, not a whole portfolio, mind you, but maybe a movie clip here and there of some pieces of animation that you might be happy with, and we can talk about it. So anyway, that's a bear running. Hope you guys have a great week. Go put some beauty back into the world, because we need it, and I'll talk to you in a couple weeks. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.